A very good morning. It's just past 8 by the clock this Monday morning. We are back again with another edition of Breakfast News. Well, I'm Anil Thomas, and over the next 60 minutes, we'll get you all the events that took place over the weekend and over the last 24 hours in Breakfast News, taking a look at some of the important events, especially when it comes to India's fight against COVID-19 and the vaccination drive, both picking up pace. Also taking a look at business and sports along with your daily health tip. Let's get started this Monday morning with the top stories. Well, Centre takes steps to boost supply of oxygen to hospitals. Industrial oxygen limited to 9 industries from April 22nd. Sanctions given for installation of 162 PSA oxygen plants at the public health facilities in all the states. These will augment medical oxygen capacity by 154.19 metric tons. Indian Railways to run special oxygen express trains to run through green corridors for transport of liquid medical oxygen. IFCO to set up an oxygen plant with a capacity of 200 cubic meters per hour in its Kalol plant in Gujarat to give free oxygen to hospitals. Centre announces plan to double up Remedesivir production to 3 lakh vials per day. Principal Scientific Advisor RK Raghavan says the antiviral drug is not a magic pill on COVID and it should be taken only on medical advice if hospitalized. States weighing back restrictions to break the case resurgence. Rajasthan announces strict restrictions till May 3rd. All workplaces to remain closed across the state. Essential services to be allowed. Tamil Nadu announces night curfew and Sunday lockdowns from tomorrow. Goa restricts gathering of people to 50. At least 11 people died and 98 injured after a train derailed in Egypt. The accident is the latest of several recent railway crashes in the country. And in sports, in an unprecedented move, 12 of Europe's leading football clubs come together to establish a midweek European Super League. UEFA says it will ban any clubs who join the breakaway league. United Kingdom Prime Minister and French President condemn the move of clubs to break away. Well, now let's take a look at the stories in detail, starting first up with the government on Sunday stressing that the requirements for medical oxygen is a critical component in the treatment of COVID-affected patients, and thus its demand has witnessed a manifold hike. In a letter to all the Chief Secretaries, Union Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla has asked them to take all measures to prohibit the supply of oxygen for industrial purposes except 9 exempted. The 9 industries include ambulances and vials, pharmaceutical, petroleum, refineries, steel plants, nuclear energy facilities, oxygen cylinder manufacturers, wastewater treatment plants, food and water purification and process industries which require uninterrupted operation of furnaces, processes, etc. as approved by the respective state governments. The decision will come into effect from April 22nd till further orders. The Union Home Secretary also told states that in view of the rapid rise in COVID-19 cases and resultant rapid demand for medical oxygen, particularly in high-burden states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh, the central government constituted Empowered Group 2 has reviewed the supply of oxygen for industrial use in order to divert the same to meet the rising demand for medical oxygen in the country and save precious lives. Well, to deal with the rising cases of COVID infections in the country, the government has taken key measures to deal with the surge. Let's take a look at this report.
Amid rising COVID-19 cases across the country, Union Health has assured all possible support to state to fight COVID-19 by taking steps to double Remedesivir production and supply, ensuring uninterrupted supply of oxygen, continuous supply of COVID-19 vaccines and enhancing healthcare infrastructure. Union Health Ministry on Sunday said that 162 PSA oxygen plants have been sanctioned for installation in public health facilities in all states, and these will augment medical oxygen capacity by over 154 metric tons. In a tweet, the Health Ministry said, out of 162 PSA plants sanctioned by the centre, 33 have already been installed, 5 in Madhya Pradesh, 4 in Himachal Pradesh, 3 in Chandigarh, Gujarat and Uttarakhand, 2 each in Bihar, Karnataka and Telangana, and 1 each in Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Haryana, Kerala, Maharashtra, Puducherry, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. In addition to 162 plants already being sanctioned, states have requested the centre for more than 100 additional plants which are also being sanctioned. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday had taken a review meeting to ensure adequate supply of medical oxygen in the country. PM had asserted that it is important to ensure synergy across ministries and state governments to maintain the adequate supply of oxygen. He had directed to increase production of medical oxygen to fulfill the growing demand. The government has said that 100 new hospitals will have their own oxygen plant under PM Cares Fund, and another 50,000 metric tons of medical oxygen will be imported for easier availability of essential medical equipments and oxygen. Indian Railways has said it will operate special Oxygen Express trains for the transport of liquid medical oxygen and oxygen cylinders. Railways said that a green corridor is being created to ensure fast movement of these Oxygen Express trains, which will ply after the completion of technical trials.
6,177 metric ton, 6,177 metric ton oxygen हमने अलग अलग राज्यों को उपलब्ध कराने का आज पूरा प्लान फाइनल कर दिया है और हर राज्य के हिसाब से इस ऑक्सीजन को अलॉट किया है, जो आगे चल के महाराष्ट्र, दिल्ली, उत्तर प्रदेश, राजस्थान और अब तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, उत्तराखंड, अलग अलग राज्यों के हिसाब से कितना कितना एक एक राज्य को किधर से जाए, ये मैपिंग आज पूरी तरीके से की गई है.
The centre also intervened to make Remdesivir more affordable for patients. 7 companies licensed to make the drug in India have lowered their prices by 25 to 70%.
रेमडेसिविर इंजेक्शन का प्रोडक्शन देश में जल्दी से जल्दी बढ़े और उसकी प्राइस कम हो, उसके लिए भारत सरकार की ओर से प्रयास हो रहा है. आज के दिन में पर डे 1.5 लाख वाइल का प्रोडक्शन होना स्टार्ट हो चुका है. अगले 15 दिन में वो बढ़ा के डबल हो जाएगा, यानी कि पर डे 3 लाख वाइल का प्रोडक्शन हो जाएगा. एग्जिस्टिंग 20 प्लांट से बढ़ा के नए 20 प्लांट को भी प्रोडक्शन की मंजूरी दी गई है. अगले दिनों में हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि मैक्सिमम से मैक्सिमम रेमडेसिविर इंजेक्शन का प्रोडक्शन हो. दूसरा, प्राइस कम करने के लिए सभी कंपनी के साथ बातचीत किया और कल ही सभी कंपनी ने अपना रिटेल प्राइस जो 5,000 और 5,000 से ज़्यादा था, सभी लोगों ने कम करके 3,500 से कम कर दिया है, जिससे मरीजों को उसका फायदा होगा.
The government has ramped up testing and vaccination drive to deal with surge in cases. With over 15 lakh samples being tested daily, the figures have touched the highest numbers of tests conducted in a single day in the country. A total of 26.65 crore samples have been tested in the country since the beginning of the pandemic. With the aggressive vaccination drive, on over 26 lakh vaccination doses were administered in the last 24 hours. Over 12 crore doses have been administered so far. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, Principal Scientific Advisor to the government, RK Raghavan, has said that the drug Remedesivir does not cure COVID-19 and and it should only be taken on medical advice if hospitalized. He urged people to listen to their doctors and don't force them to prescribe. RK Raghavan also said that at best it can reduce hospital stay by a few days and that it is not a magic pill, so do not panic purchase. Cooperative fertilizer major IFCO has said that it is setting up a medical oxygen plant in Gujarat and will supply it for free to hospitals. IFCO's managing director and CEO US Avasthi tweeted, and I quote, "I humbly share that on the nation's service, IFCO is putting up an oxygen plant with a capacity of 200 cubic meters per hour in its Kalol unit in Gujarat. IFCO will give free oxygen to hospitals, each cylinder of 46.7 liters. Further, IFCO will fill up free of cost the oxygen cylinders for hospitals. They need to bring their own cylinders for refill. A security deposit will be taken if cylinders taken from IFCO to avoid hoarding of oxygen. Also, IFCO oxygen plant in Kalol will generate medical grade oxygen and fill 700 big D-type cylinders daily and also 300 medium B-size cylinders on demand, which will be supplied to all hospitals free." The Rajasthan government has imposed 15-day lockdown like curbs in the state from today till May 3rd owing to the surge in COVID-19 cases. The lockdown is being called Jan Anushasan Pakwada or Self-Discipline Fortnight. During this period, all markets, restaurants, non-essential shops and offices will remain shut. Essential services to remain open. Grocery shops and stalls selling fruits, vegetables, dairy products and milk will be allowed to remain open till 5 p.m. A negative RT-PCR certificate for tests conducted within 72 hours of travel will be mandatory to enter the state. Also, those travelling to and from airports, bus stands and train stations will be allowed with valid tickets. The Tamil Nadu government has announced stricter restrictions from tomorrow to curb the rising trend in COVID-19 cases in the state. This includes night curfew and total lockdown all Sundays till further orders. The new measures come hours after Chief Minister E. Palaniswamy held a meeting with Chief Secretary and other senior officials. A release issued later said night curfew would be imposed over the entire state from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. while total lockdown would be enforced on Sundays. All public and private transport including buses, cabs and autos would not be allowed during this period. However, cabs and autos would be allowed to be used for emergency medical purposes and to airports and railway stations. Essential services would be exempt from such restrictions. Well, aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19, Goa government has issued orders imposing restrictions on gatherings of more than 50 people and has made it mandatory for organizers to seek permission from the sub-district magistrate. As per the orders, both the organizer as well as the venue in charge will be penalized as per law. The organizer and the venue in charge would also ensure wearing of masks, norms of social distancing and other COVID-appropriate behavior. However, central and state government functions have been exempted from norms. In Maharashtra, 68,631 new cases were registered on Sunday. 45,654 patients were discharged, while 503 patients died in the last 24 hours. Currently, 36,75,518 people are in home quarantine, while 26,529 people are in institutional quarantine. There are 6,70,388 active cases in the state. Well, for more on the story, we got Shama, our correspondent, joining us, giving us the latest from Mumbai city and also the state of Maharashtra. Shama, good morning. Looking at the way things stand, numbers seem to be rising with every passing day. 61, 63, 65. We're looking at 68,000 from the western state of Maharashtra. What are the reasons? Has the state government been able to tabulate now exactly where's the problem? Because the vaccination is increasing. Available things that are needed to fight the disease are slowly getting available, but the numbers seem to be increasing. What are the reasons? Is there any pinpointed answers that the state government has been able to give?
Every day when the fresh numbers are coming, it puts to shame the previous day numbers. And as you've mentioned that, starting from 63, 65, and now we are seeing 68,000. Even with the night curfew and the lockdown that is happening in the state, the numbers don't seem to be coming in control. And the reason what we are seeing is over here that even if the lockdown is already implemented, the weekend stricter lockdown is implemented, the people are not going on main roads, main streets, but the interior roads are still totally crowded. The interior roads, the shops and everything is open, and people, they have become, like we've already spoken in the previous discussions also, that people have become careless about the fact that they should be following COVID appropriate behavior. If not necessary, they should not be venturing out of their houses. But this year, it's very different. The picture is totally different. And if you see the interior roads of any place, any place in the city, or even in other places like Thane, Navi Mumbai, these places are also totally crowded. So you have to ensure that people are not on the streets to make sure that the spread of the COVID virus is not happening. Apart from this, we are also seeing that the total active cases in the state is now more than 670,000. So this is also worrisome, because people are getting discharged every day to the tune of more than 40,000. But this number is the worrisome number. The deaths are happening every day. Today, yesterday's number that has come, it has surpassed 500 number of deaths, and that is really the cause of concern for each one in Maharashtra. We already heard how you said about the government initiative to supply oxygen. So among the more than 6,000 metric tons oxygen that is being supplied to various states of the country, Maharashtra with 1,500 metric tons would be the only state which would be receiving the highest amount of oxygen, because the state is currently requiring that. And also the Chief Minister, he held a meeting day before yesterday, and he has asked all the industry people or the businessmen to come forward and be prepared for the third wave, because we already seeing the second wave of the coronavirus is rampaging Maharashtra, and it should be better that we should be prepared for the third wave if it hits our state again.
Okay.
So oxygen supplies should be ready with them. They can also support the state government with medical facilities like the in the ICU facilities, oxygen beds, ventilator beds, if they could support. Talking on this, many institutions are also coming forward. They're giving up their space for turning it into a COVID hospital.
Okay.
So at places, which is totally, the medical facilities are totally exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
These institutions are coming up, and they are actually posing as an alternative for
Okay.
these
The Shama, also, the state government has decided that, people coming from various states need to have an RT-PCR. There are few restrictions that have been put in place. Can you just spell it out, the states that have been marked, where people coming in from those states need to have a negative RT-PCR report? And is there a drop also in the timeline, from 70 to, is there a drop in the timeline that, the reports needs to be valid for?
Right. Earlier we had seen that people who are coming from sensitive states like the Rajasthan, Gujarat, Delhi, NCR, Goa, Kerala, these states were termed as where people had to carry a negative RT-PCR test, and that could be valid for the 96 hours. But now it has come down to 48 hours, and people arriving from these places have to strictly undergo all the checkups, be it thermal or for symptoms, at the stations where they are arriving in Mumbai.
Okay.
Both railway officials the railway management and the disaster management of the state have been asked to set up the entire system where each passenger has to be tested. If somebody is not carrying the RT-PCR tests with them, then the rapid antigen test could be carried out at the station only. And apart from that, even if the person has brought the negative RT-PCR test, they will be stamped on their hands that they have to stay in their home quarantine for 15 days. And if they are found violating these norms, except for the medical emergency, then they would be put into institutional quarantine. So the state government is seeing all the loopholes that are going on, and then it's a way to fix things that even the railway passengers are coming in huge numbers, so they have to put a tap on that.
Okay, Shama, one quick word before I let you go. Keep it brief. Looking at that color-coded stickers that were put in place for essential services, transportation for essential services, how effective that has been, and how easy or how difficult is it to get those color-coded stickers?
Well, yesterday was the first day, and being a Sunday, being a weekend, not many people were outside, even with the essential services. Today, we have to see what the real picture is, and the police department has also asked people that they can get their stickers from either nakabandis or the check nakas that is happening all over the Mumbai city. Other than that, they can also have their own stickers. They can make their own stickers with 6 inches of diameter and paste it on their vehicles accordingly, both on 4-wheelers and 2-wheelers.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us. You take good care of yourself. We'll come back to you across the day for more updates on this particular COVID-19 battle, especially from the western state of Maharashtra. Well, moving forward to Karnataka, where in Karnataka, 19,067 new cases were registered on Sunday. 4,603 patients were discharged, while 81 patients died on Sunday. Currently, the positivity rate in the state stands at 13.09%. Well, we got Aisha Khanam joining us this morning. Aisha, good morning. First of all, nice to see you this early morning on a Monday. But looking at the way things stand from Karnataka, from the last time that we spoke, is the picture turning, grim, or do you see some kind of bounce back that the southern state of Karnataka has shown?
Well, good morning, Anil. Karnataka is still staring at a very, very grim situation. There is no improvement in the situation which we spoke 3 days ago. And as you rightly pointed out, the positivity rate has gone up high. It was just 5.5% earlier. Now it has gone up to 13% and more. So this is a very, very alarming situation in the state, especially in Bangalore. Because there is a lot of pressure on the medical infrastructure. There are no availability of beds. All the occupancy in government hospitals are full, and also private hospitals are not in position to meet the demand. Though the government had directed them to keep 50% of beds for the corona patient treatment, but the private hospitals have not been able to arrange this. Therefore, yesterday the Bangalore City Corporation Commissioner Gaurav Gupta raided some of the private hospitals and have served notices on them for not complying with the orders. And this is on one hand, and on the other hand, the government is bracing up to meet the situation. And also today's meeting with the MLAs and the MPs of the state will be a very crucial meeting wherein the state will take stock of the situation and decide on more and more stringent action. Because at the moment it looked like that there could be a lockdown in Bangalore city to break the chain. But now the government has said that there is no intention of imposing a total lockdown. But the measures could be very stringent, because the government says that they do not want to hurt the daily wage workers, the economy on which the poorer section of the society depend upon. So therefore the stringent measures could be like sealing the borders with Maharashtra, Kerala, making RT-PCR test compulsory at the borders, and also the night curfew could be, the timings in the night curfew could be extended. Though right now it is from 10 p.m. to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The government could enhance this timing and make it 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And on the other hand, the government says that it is
Okay.
equipped with a oxygen supply, and also over 812 tons of oxygen can be supplied to the hospitals. But unfortunately, these logistics are not seem to be working to
Okay.
reach the oxygens to the
Okay.
oxygen cylinders to the hospital.
Okay, Aisha, one quick word. Looking at the way things stand, and the requirements of the state, had the state been able to spell out the things that they need, and those needs that have been raised, have they been slowly and steadily being met?
Yes, absolutely. With regard to oxygen cylinders, the government had raised concern, and now they say that they are in position to meet the challenge and to meet the demand. And also the government is ramping up the infrastructure, the medical infrastructure, and the government had also said that since the government hospital beds are full and the private hospitals are meeting only half the requirement of the government's directed 50% of beds, the government is now looking at making the hotels and convert them into makeshift hospitals. So these things are being worked out, but still the way the cases are pardon me, the way the cases are spreading, it looks very tough for the government and very challenging the position the government is in. And today's crucial meeting with all the party MLAs and the MPs will decide the future course of action, at least to see to that the situation in Bangalore is in control and the cases do not go beyond the numbers which we are seeing, about 10,000 cases per day in Bangalore as such.
Well, Aisha, you need a glass of lukewarm water there to clear your throat. Thank you and appreciate your joining us this morning, giving us an update there from the southern state of Karnataka. Well, moving on now to and shifting focus to elections in West Bengal, where there are still 3 phases of election left, and campaigning for that 6th phase of elections in West Bengal will end today. Voting will take place on April 22nd. Political parties are busy wooing voters, with Union Home Minister and BJP leader Amit Shah and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee holding rallies and roadshows. Addressing a public rally in Purba Bardhaman in West Bengal, Amit Shah slammed the ruling TMC government for not using central government's fund for farmers' welfare. Meanwhile, Election Commission of India has imposed a ban on Trinamool Congress candidate Sujata Mondal and BJP's Sayantan Basu from campaigning in the state for 24 hours. Out of the 8-phase polling, 5 phases of voting are already over in the state. Counting of votes will take place on the 2nd of May. There are still 3 phases left. 22nd phase 6, followed by 26th and 29th. Counting of votes for all 4 states and Union Territory of Puducherry on the 2nd of May. Well, we got Rajiv Bhattacharya, correspondent, joining us on the phone line from Kolkata to give us the latest on the election campaigning in West Bengal. Rajiv, the way things stand, the campaigning ends 72 hours before. Does that come as a big relief, especially in this fight against COVID-19?
Yes, absolutely, Arun, Anil, because you see the 72-hour period means that there's hardly going to be any campaign after the 19th or 20th.
Okay.
And in between 26th and 29th also you wouldn't have any campaign. So all the big ticket campaign rallies are going to be held either today or tomorrow. That's the maximum. And that in a way is a big relief for everyone concerned, especially for the administration and for the people at large, and also for the election officials who are going out on duty, because the way the numbers are spreading, it is really a cause of major concern.
Okay.
And the commission has stepped in, and one is actually, very hopeful that once this period of, large gatherings and people in public stops, the numbers might dip.
Okay. Okay. Rajiv, also looking at the way in which the West Bengal Chief Electoral Officer had called all the political parties for a meeting to deliberate on the ways in which the COVID pandemic and the situation and the worry that arrives along with it can be checked. Do you somewhere feel there is palpable or there is, acceptable result that you see on the ground being followed by political parties?
Well, that meeting, if you go by what the political parties said later, they weren't on the same page, because some people felt that in no way could the democratic rights of the people be curtailed. Some people felt that all the remaining phases should be clubbed together. Some people said that we are with the commission and will always be with the commission. But the point is that everyone felt that something needed to be done. And when the commission came out with these new guidelines, there was no protest. So therefore, one would say that the political parties have also fallen in line with the Commission's directives, Anil.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us. We'll come back to you. Still got a busy fortnight ahead with 3 more phases of elections left with the counting of votes taking place on the 2nd of May. That was our correspondent Rajiv Bhattacharya giving us an update there on phase 6 of elections in West Bengal. West Bengal goes to polls for 43 seats on the 22nd of April. Well, moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Sunday held a productive interaction with Foreign Affairs Minister of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, on the bilateral cooperation. Both the leaders took forward ongoing discussions on this subject starting in February. The two leaders stressed that the strong focus on post-COVID economic recovery will remain a priority for them. Well, moving on now to our segment where we take a look at all the stories from across the globe. Well, in Egypt, almost 100 people were injured on Sunday when 4 train carriages derailed in Qulba province north of Cairo. The train was heading from Cairo to the Nile Delta city of Mansoura and derailed at afternoon time about 40 kilometers north of Cairo. The Egyptian National Railways, in a short statement, said that the cause of the accident is being investigated. Also, the country's health ministry said that more than 50 ambulances took the injured to 3 hospitals in the province. The derailing is the latest of the several recent railway crashes in Egypt. At least 20 people were killed and nearly 200 were injured in March when 2 trains collided near Tata, about 440 kilometers south of Cairo. Well, in Austin, Texas, the police on Sunday confirmed that the suspect in the shooting deaths of 3 people is a former police detective, and also confirmed it being a domestic situation as they reduced the massive police presence in the area. Austin Interim Police Chief Joseph Cajon described the incident as domestic, as the victims were all known to the suspect. He further added that the department does not think he is very much dangerous. The killing in an apartment complex, which followed a spate of mass shootings in the United States, prompted authorities to lock down the surrounding area, which includes a popular shopping complex in the northwest part of the city, which is the capital of Texas. Killed at the scene of the shooting were 2 women and a man. Well, in the meanwhile, in another state of United States, 3 people were killed and 2 injured in a shooting at a bar in Kenosha County, Wisconsin, early on Sunday. However, the suspect in the shooting at the Somers Howe Tavern is still at large and has not been located. United States has been on the edge over shooting rampages in recent weeks. The sheriff, David Beth, has said that the shooter appeared to have targeted his victims and that the incident seemed to have originated with a disturbance at the establishment. He told reporters it did not appear to be a random act. Well, Syria will hold its presidential elections on May 26. The country's parliament announced on Sunday a vote which is expected to return President Bashar al-Assad for a 3rd term in office. Assad's family and his Baath party have ruled Syria for more than 5 decades, holding a strong grip on power with the help of powerful security forces and army. A bloody crackdown on pre-democracy protesters by Assad's security apparatus in 2011 led to a devastating civil war. Well, protesters gathered outside the Russian embassy in Prague on Sunday after the Czech Republic expelled 18 Russian embassy staff. The expulsion came after the accusations of Moscow's involvement in the ammunition depot blast at a Czech town in 2014. Protesters waving European Union and NATO flags chanted anti-Russian slogans and signed a petition calling on the EU to support Czech Republic. 7 people were briefly detained after they splashed the walls of the embassy building with ketchup in the early morning hours on Sunday. British Foreign Minister Dominic Raab expressed Britain's full support to the Czech Republic after the fallout with Russian embassy. Raab said on Twitter, and I quote, "The United Kingdom stands in full support of our Czech allies who have exposed the lengths that the GRU will go in their attempts to conduct dangerous and malign operations and highlights a disturbing pattern of behavior following the attack in Salisbury." Well, in Philippines, heavy rain and huge waves battered Catbalogan, an eastern city, on Sunday. A super typhoon surge brushed past the country's eastern shores. Huge waves battered a seawall in the city as people huddled under shelter surrounded by floodwater for the storm to pass in a local market. Super typhoon surge, locally known as Bising, is expected to bring waves of up to 120 kilometers per hour to parts of eastern Philippines. But the center of the storm is expected to remain at sea. The typhoon, however, is not expected to make a landfall. Well, taking cue of the coronavirus update, worldwide, more than 14 crore 19 lakh people worldwide have so far tested positive for COVID-19, with over 12 crore people having recovered from coronavirus. The deadly virus has so far claimed 30,32,000 lives worldwide. United States continues to be the worst affected country by the COVID-19 pandemic. So far, more than 3 crore 24 lakh people have tested positive for COVID-19, while over 5,81,000 people have died due to the virus in the United States of America. Well, passengers thronged Australian airports after an open border system began with New Zealand. This travel bubble is a pandemic milestone that allows Australian residents to fly to New Zealand for the first time in over a year without having a quarantine for 2 weeks. New Zealand had enforced isolation for arrivals from its neighbours, citing concern about sporadic virus outbreaks that even though Australia had allowed quarantine-free visits from New Zealand residents since late last year. The open border will help drive the economic recovery for both countries and reunite thousands with families and friends. Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison and New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said in a joint statement. Well, Israelis went about barefaced on Sunday as the mandatory wearing of protective masks outdoors were removed in the country's latest return to relative normality, boosted by a mass vaccination campaign against the COVID-19 pandemic. With about 81% of its citizens or residents over 16 having received both doses, contingents and hospitalizations also down sharply. The entry by foreigners is still limited, and non-immune Israelis who return from abroad must self-isolate due to concerned virus variants could challenge the vaccine. The police enforced wearing of protective masks outdoors, ordered a year ago for non-exercise activities, was scrapped. But the health ministry said the requirements still applied for indoor public spaces and urged citizens to keep masks to hand. With Israeli kindergartens, elementary and high school students already back in class, middle school children who had been kept at home or attended class sporadically returned to pre-pandemic schedules. Teachers were instructed to continue ventilating classrooms and maintaining social distancing in lessons and breaks. While Italy, meanwhile, prepares to reopen, beating empty black storage trunks, the workers gather to dramatize their demand for a government fund to help them survive. From April 26, the more lenient yellow and white zones will be reinstated where infection levels are low. In these areas, restaurants and bars will be able to serve clients at outside tables, and cinemas and theatres will reopen with attendance limits. On Friday, the government said Italy will ease coronavirus curbs in many areas from April 26th, but warned caution that still need to avoid any reversals in the reopening of many long-shuttered activities. Well, time now to take a look at all the developments from the world of business. Well, a mixed start to Asian markets and record high COVID-19 cases at home could hit the market sentiment today. Besides, it is to be seen how investors react to the HDFC's bank's mixed set of quarterly numbers. The day ahead promises volatility. Meanwhile, Asian markets are trading mixed in today's trade. Japan's Nikkei was flat at 29,659 points. Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 0.17%. Korea's Kospi was up 0.2%, while China's Shanghai Composite Index edged 0.13% higher. Talking of Wall Street, it saw no reason to stop rallying as the US economy pulls out of its downturn, lifting the Dow and S&P 500 to the second consecutive record on Friday. On Friday, the S&P 500 index rose 15 points to 4,185, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index rose 164 points to 34,200 points. The Nasdaq Composite Index rose 13 points to 14,052. Well, let's now move on to our next segment, that's Sports Track. While creating a stir in the soccer world, 12 of Europe's top clubs announced on Sunday they were launching a breakaway Super League headed by Real Madrid president Florentino Perez. The move sets up a rival to UEFA's Champions League competition and has been receiving heavy criticism by soccer authorities and UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson and French President Emmanuel Macron. 6 clubs from England's Premier League, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur feature among the founding members. The other 6 being Spain's Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Italy's Inter Milan, Juventus and AC Milan. In a statement, the members said that the league plans to launch as soon as practicable and the founding clubs will be given $3.5 billion to support their infrastructure investment plans and to offset the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, we got Narayan Singh joining us this morning to give us an update when it comes to this particular new decision. Narayan, how do you see this particular move? Does this come as a surprise, a shock, or do you feel, this is clubs now trying to get a grip of what UEFA is doing?
Definitely, this news has sent the shockwaves across the European football arena, as the news was coming from the various platforms that since the last 6 months, the various top clubs of the Europe, just from Spain, England and Italy, and they were meeting secretly to form a new Super League, that is European Super League, so that they can go for on more revenues for them. Definitely, it will hamper the European football, the structure that they have. The Champions League, they are the domestic, they have their own domestic league. And in between, when it comes during a pandemic season, when the football is already struggling with the financial problem, the instability is there, definitely this move will hamper the interest of other clubs also. The way the things looking right now, it will only help the few top clubs of the European, which has the monopoly of the football over them. If we talk about the Spain, the Real Madrid and the Barcelona are the dominating the financial sector of the football, and especially in England, the top 6, Man U, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, all these are getting the more revenues. But definitely it will be, if you talk about the small clubs who are coming through the relegation and promotion system, it will hamper their cause. Because if,
Okay, Narayan, put this into a bit more perspective for us. When you look at this particular decision about the way UEFA has reacted, the way FIFA has reacted, it seems to be more about the financial part of it than about players. Because, the way the world body FIFA is reacted about it. FIFA is saying we're going to ban the players, we're going to ban the players who play in the Super League from playing in the World Cup. But FIFA, when it comes to 2022 World Cup host, has been quite on many issues, that needed the FIFA to step up and talk about them. So this clearly is more about the economic part of it than about players.
Definitely, it's all about the revenue generation system.
Okay.
It's all about the economical gains. The way right now, even during the pandemic, the top football clubs of the Europe are in loss. Whether it is Real Madrid, whether it is Barcelona, whether it is Man U, Man City, all the revenues of all the clubs due to the pandemic is falling because the fans are not there in the stadiums, and lot more. The sponsorship deals have come down. And in this situation, these clubs want to generate their revenue, and they also want to remain there and wants to be the superpower of the game. But the FIFA and the UEFA are not against it. They have clearly said that. FIFA said that if the players who are taking part in these tournaments and these leagues, definitely they will be barred to play from their national league. And apart from that, we can say that it will also disturb the structure of the football in Europe, which is very systematic, which is very organized. If we see that there are different domestic leagues, like there is a domestic Tier A, after that in English Cup there is FA Cup, there is a League Cup, and also there is a Super Cup in midweek, in the middays of the week they play Champions League. If this Super League, this European Super League becomes a reality, definitely this will hamper, it will also impact the structure of the European football.
Okay, we'll leave it there. But then, responding to that possible sanctions that have been spoken about, Real Madrid president Florentino Perez has said if players are not allowed to play in the World Cup, maybe we can think of creating a World Cup of our own. We'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us, Narayan, with those updates. Well, let's now move on to our next section that's getting you a latest from the social media, and we've got our correspondent standing by. Let's go over. Well, we got a smiling Preeti standing by to give us the latest. Preeti, good morning. Over to you.
Thank you, Anil, and a warm good morning to all of our viewers. When we talk of the social media portals, then all of the portals are flooded with the updates on COVID-19. We have been getting the details in our bulletin as well. But in the web review, I will start with this report which was put forth by the Times of India. It says, in Uttarakhand, crowds start receding from the Kumbh Ghats. Now, the gathering and the Kumbh Mela had got a lot of attention in the recent days, and because of that, the paper says that at present the massive crowds at the bathing ghats is seen ebbing, and also that means the visitors and the pilgrims, they are heading back to their individual cities. And also the report gets us more details. It says the religious discourses and the skits which generally used to be organized during the Kumbh Mela are not being organized any further. And this is with regard to the Ram Navami, which is on April 21st. Added to that, the next slide up on your screens is coming in from the Hindu. The Hindu gets us the details. It says DRDO sets up 500-bed COVID-19 facility in Delhi. Now, earlier the DRDO had also set up a 1,000-bed facility which was closed in February 1st week owing to the fall and the controlled situation of COVID-19. But also because of the rising cases in the national capital, we see that DRDO has set up a 500-bed facility in the national capital near the airport. Now, this facility will be managed by DG Armed Forces Medical Services. A team from this has arrived in the national capital, and it will look after the facility. Now, all the beds in this facility have oxygen, and ventilators will also be provisioned. The DRDO will be operationalizing this facility from Monday onwards, and also the paper gets us details that in the beginning 250 beds will be operational, and gradually the number will be 500 will reach 500. So this is indeed a respite for the national capital, which is seeing an upsurge in the cases in the recent days. And even as we speak, as I tell you that the COVID updates have found prominence on all the social media websites, this very interesting report which caught my attention right in the morning, coming in from the Hindustan Times. The Hindustan Times carries a very interesting picture of a woman in her wedding attire. This is a wedding dress which she wore to a vaccination center as she got herself vaccinated. This is reminiscent of the fact that her wedding last year had to be called off because of the COVID situation, and this lady Sarah Startley in the US, in Baltimore, US, got herself vaccinated wearing her wedding dress. So there are such people also who refuse to get bogged down by the virus. But remember, we are at a very decisive stage in this fight against COVID-19. Wear masks, follow social distancing, and also continue with the behavioral changes. We on DD India have also been calling in all our viewers to wear masks and be part of the Mask Up India initiative. The government on its part has been putting a brave fight against the pandemic. We have reached the stage wherein we are the only country in the world which has vaccinated 12 crore people in record time. But that does not mean that we need to sit back and relax, given the second wave of the virus that has caught the nation. The responsibility lies with you and with me as common citizens. We have to make sure that we give more support to this fight against COVID-19. Wear a mask, wear it correctly and properly. On that word of caution, I'll end this press review here. It's back to you, Anil, for the rest of the breakfast news.
Well, thank you, Preeti, for getting us those latest stories, especially about that bride getting married there in the wedding attire, getting herself vaccinated before she got married. Well, leave it there. Thank you and appreciate your joining us. Well, moving on now to our next segment, that's giving you the health tip. Today is liver is the most important, or the second largest organ in your body. After the brain, it is also the second most complex organ in our body. It performs various crucial functions that are associated with digestion, immunity, metabolism, and the storage of nutrients within the body. World Liver Day is observed on 19th of April, that's today, to raise awareness about liver-related diseases. Let's take a look at this health tip story on how to keep your liver healthy.
World Liver Day is observed on 19th April every year. The aim is to spread awareness about the liver disease. Liver is an important organ of our body. A healthy liver is the way to healthy digestive system. It helps in mobilizing energy, regulating fat storage and blood flow, leading to an improved metabolism and neutralizing toxins for elimination from the body.
On this occasion of World Liver Day, let's talk about how we can keep our liver healthy. Liver does multiple functions like helps in digestion of food, what we eat, fights infection, produces albumin, and removes bad things from our body. Anything what you eat or drink passes through your liver. We need to be very careful with what we drink and eat. Consumption of alcohol is on the rise, especially in young people. Alcohol not only damages the liver but also causes lots of problems in other organs of the body.
Unhealthy lifestyle along with unhealthy food habits makes our liver accumulate too much of toxins that affects the liver gradually. Liver diseases doesn't usually cause any obvious signs or symptoms until it is fairly advanced and the liver is damaged. It is important to know about the ways that can keep your liver healthy.
To keep our liver healthy, let's make a pledge not to consume alcohol. We are becoming more and more sedentary these days and consuming more and more junk foods. Let's make a conscious effort to eat healthy foods and do exercise in any form possible for at least 30 minutes every day. Presently, the COVID cases are increasing. Stay safe, maintain social distancing, eat healthy foods, avoid alcohol, and keep your liver healthy.
The best way to cleanse and enhance liver health is to remove toxic food from your diet. Taking precautions and following a healthy lifestyle is the key to healthy liver. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
Well, let's now take a look at today's weather forecast and also the weather in your city. Well, taking a look at the satellite image, there is fairly widespread rainfall, scanty rainfall to widespread rainfall being expected over the northern parts of India, especially regions like the western Himalayan region, Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Muzaffarabad, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand till the 22nd of April. Also heavy rainfall likely over the region of Kashmir and isolated rainfall in Himachal Pradesh on 21st. Dust storm is also very likely over Rajasthan on the 20th of April. Let's now take a look at the weather in your city. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of news. But remember, there is a fight against COVID-19 that's on. So do not forget to follow 3 simple steps. That's called SMS, sanitize yourself, mask yourself at all times, also maintaining social distancing. Remember, these are tough times that we all are in. Remember, tough times never last, but tough people really do. So you and I could be the tough people who are looking forward to better days ahead. We also leave you with a beautiful image to liven up your day. Today we are leaving you with glimpses of the royal funeral ceremony of the Duke of Edinburgh. He was laid to rest on Saturday. Take a look. Have a safe and wonderful day ahead.